Hello guys, welcome to the CodeLab channel, and in this tutorial we're going to be building this responsive single page website called Nanotech, and we're going to be using Flexbox to help us lay this all out. So I'm just going to skim through the contents of this website. So first we've got this header here which has a title and a bug icon, and then we've got a navigation bar here that when we hover over each of the items they change colour to green, so nice little cool effect. And then underneath the navigation bar we've got this welcome section which has a nice background image with a dark overlay on top, which we will be creating. And then on top of that we've got this nice content area here, and also a button that when we hover over it, it nudges upwards, just so it gives it a bit more of a dynamic look, and all the buttons will be styled this way using utility classes. And then we head over to the market section, and we've got these three items here that when we hover over them, they transition to a nice background of blue, and the content inside then becomes white, so it's kind of like a reversal. And then in the about us section, half of the section is an image and half of the section is just some content with the button again which nudges upwards when we hover over it. And if you look at the image, there's also a nice little diagonal cut which we'll be creating ourselves. And the team section is really similar to the market section, so we're going to be using a utilities class to lay this out. And then if we hover over each of these, you see they've also got their own little hover effect, so they just kind of scale up in size a little bit, which looks pretty good. And then the contact us section, really similar to the about us section, but the image is on the other side for this one, and then we're going to be creating a class to switch the images around. And this also has a cut, which we again will be creating ourselves. And we've got a nice little basic form section here, which has again has a button and different inputs which we will be creating. And then lastly we've got this nice footer here, which has 4 sections, so you've got these 4 different bits here, and you've got the socials, and each of them have their own little hover effect. And if we hover over these sections too, they got their nice little hover effect. And all of this is responsive, so if I just grab the browser, you see now they just stack on top of each other, and it looks pretty good, and it's nice and responsive, so it all looks pretty good. So what I've done is broken this tutorial down in 5 videos. So the first video, or this video, we're going to be getting everything set up, so writing out the things we need in our HTML and writing out the header and welcome section of the HTML. And then what we're going to do is just add some global styles and some utility styles, as we don't want to get in the habit of repeating ourselves. And then from the third video we're going to start the market section and the about us section, and the fourth video will be the team section and the contact section, and the fifth and final video is going to be styling this footer section as well as making it all responsive. So the first thing we're going to do is just get everything set up. So I'm going to change this here. So this is our blank Nanotech page, which we'll see here, and this now the title is now changed to Nanotech, so this is going to be our website now. And the first thing we need to do is just link Font Awesome, because we're going to be using icons, which you can see here and inside the socials. So to get to font icons, all we need to do is go in the browser, Font Awesome CDN, and we'll click this library here, and we grab this first link here, and we go on the copy link tag, and we go above the title, and I'll just paste it in here. And the next thing we need is our font family, and where you can get some really good fonts is Google Fonts. So we'll go into Google Fonts, and we'll go inside the first tab here, and you guys can come and choose whatever font you like, but for this website I'm using Lato, so just type in Lato in the search bar. And what we'll do is scroll down to, I'm going to say light 300, select this style, and Google Fonts is really good because it gives us a link, and it also gives us the way to specify it inside our style sheet. So I'm going to grab the link, and I'm going to put this above the, and then I'm just going to tab that in a little bit. And then the next thing we need to do is just want to quickly show you guys that we have the image folder here which has all our images, and where I get my images from is from Pexels, which is a free platform, and you can come on here, and if you want to get pictures for your websites, they're really high quality photos and they're just free to download. So yeah, this is where I get my images from. So close that off, and the next thing we need to do is just create our style sheets. So I'm just going to say style.css, which is going to be our general styles, and then our utilities.css style sheet. So those are created, and we just need to link them up here. So I'm going to say link. And first you want to get the utilities style sheet, and then underneath the utilities we want the general style sheet, and we're almost there now. So the next thing we need to do is just write out our HTML for the header and the welcome section. So I'm going to be using a header semantic tag, an ID of main header, as it's going to be our main header. And then inside the header, we want to create a div for our logo. So a nice little emit trick. If you want to create a div with a class built inside, a neat little emit trick is period for the class, and the same would be for ID. So a hash. So period main header dash logo is what we want to call our class. Hit tab, and you see it'll create the div with a class inside of it. So we need an icon here. So it's going to be for the bug, and this has a class of FAS FA bug. Hit tab, and our bug should appear in the browser there, which looks pretty cool. And then we've got a H3, and this is called nanotech. Now underneath our logo, we're going to need our navigation bar. So this is going to have a div of main header nav, and you guys can name your classes however you like, but I just like to name them this way. And then we're going to need unordered list, an li, and an anchor tag. And this is going to go to the market section. So it's going to have an ID of markets when we create our market section. So when we click on it on the navigation bar, it will take us to the markets. So this is markets, and then what I'm going to do is just duplicate this 3 more times. I'm just going to fast forward this bit. Now underneath the header, we just need to create the welcome section. So this is really simple. So it's just a section, and it's got the ID of welcome section, and all this has inside it is just a H1 which says welcome to nanotech, and then a paragraph with some dummy text inside. And then underneath this is just going to be a button, but it's going to be an anchor tag, but it's going to be styled like a button. So this isn't going anywhere, so just put hash in here, and I'm going to give this a class of main btn, because this is going to have a utilities class. So our buttons are going to be in a utility class, because we're going to be using them repeatedly throughout the website. Now that's it for the markup for the welcome section and the navigation bar. The next thing we need to do is just create some global styles. So global styles are just styles that affect the whole website, so affect all the elements. So I'm just going to put a comment in here, global styles, and you'll typically see this at the top of most style sheets. So the first thing we want to do is no margin and padding. Now what the asterisk does is essentially just select every element, so all the rule styles we put in here will affect all the elements. So another thing we want to put in here is box sizing. Now I'm not going to get too deep into this, but usually the default is content box, and this can sometimes become an inconvenience because when we add padding or a border to some of our content, it gets added onto the width, which is sometimes what we don't want, and it will just cause a bit of confusion later on. So to nullify that, we just use border box. And then if you guys want to check out the box sizing property even more, I've got a 5-minute Fridays episode on the box sizing property. Now another few things we want to do is just take some of the styling off our navigation bar, because by default they have those bullet points and underlines. So for the text decoration, so this is for the anchor tags, we want to get rid of the underlines, so we'll say none. So the list style is for the bullet points, and this is for the underline. So see our list items no longer have those default settings. Now what I want to do is just style the HTML. So we're going to say font family, and we chose Lato, and that should change the styling. It looks pretty good. And all I want to do is just make sure the color of our text is that primary color, so it's that blue color, so it's 242590. Now underneath the color, I want a even number for our font size, so it's a much easier relative point, because we're going to be using relative units throughout the rest of the website now. So I'm going to say 10 pixels, as it's really easy to count from 10, and want to add a bit of line height here, so I'm going to say 1.6, and we just want the font weight to be, let's say 700. So adds a bit of thickness to the font. And now the last thing I want to do is just make sure the images are 100% of the width of their container, because they usually are a lot larger. And one last thing actually is just make sure the anchor tags, want them to be uppercase, so it's text transform uppercase, and that should make them all uppercase. It looks pretty good. And that should be it for this video, guys. We're all ready now to start styling the header and the welcome section so we can make it look like this. So I'll see you guys in the next video.